Hi everyone, this is Christian. I hope you're doing all well, SassePhoto, in your quarantine. So we got a very interesting uh, initiative here. It's completely different to what we usually had because today it's going to be all about art, which is quite wonderful. It's something to relax. If you like Bob Ross and so on, well, I've got you the Bob Ross of the Eagle world. It's quite interesting. So I just have to check. You won't believe it. The system actually crashed. Just 5 minutes, it set a complete panic here. So I hope we won't have another panic this way. So it was really funny. So if I suddenly crash away, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I see all your comments. I'm just going to go on Facebook and just make sure it works there. 1 second. Let me just see where all the comments are. So give me a sec because this was just a horrible crash. Are we? Okay, we are not live yet on Facebook. Something happened there. Wait a second. So we're not live on Facebook. So why is that? So just give me a second. Oh dear, there's always a panic somewhere. Something happened there and I don't know why. Enable manual mode. Okay, do you want to enable? Yes. Okay, let me just see if I can get us live here, because obviously we're not going live. Okay, oh, it's weird that I don't know if I'm live on Facebook, so just give me a second. For some reason things are a little bit wonky and I don't know why. How do I get this now? Okay, so obviously that is not working. Go live now. Let me try this one. Ha! Everything is upside down. Just wait a second. So just bear with me whilst I organize myself here. Okay, what is going on here? Just 1 second. I'm just going to put in for you an eagle to look at and blend myself out a little bit so it's a bit better. And let me show you the eagle for now. Okay, so I'll be then I can in peace just see what I need to do on Facebook, because I just don't understand why this is happening. Why is this happening? Stream live key. Copy. Okay, what is going on here? It won't start. Why is that? Why is it giving me such problems? Okay. Yeah, everyone on YouTube, just give me a sec. Bear with me, okay? Just hang on and amuse yourselves. I see you're all there, and I apologize. I know it's working on YouTube, but on Facebook I've got a bit of issues and there were so many people waiting, so I'm just trying to fix this. Hopefully I can get this done. So just amuse yourselves and I will try and fix this. I don't understand why you're not working. Go live now. Manual start live, and it won't do it. It's just not doing it. Okay. Okay. I'm going to try it again. Otherwise, we have to make 2 sessions if this is not going to work. does it not work? Okay, let me just check. Oh, you need to restart. Okay, okay. Everything seems to be going wrong. Okay, everything seems to be going wrong today. I don't know what's going on. I just don't know. Okay, Mike is back, but I can't hear him. Wait a second. What? Okay, Mike, you're back. Okay. You are definitely back, but I've got you upside down. Okay, that's good. That's our guest, by the way. That's Mike. So I got him back now. I can't get Facebook going for whatever reason. So I just don't know. So what I suggest is anyway, Mike, you might have to do this twice. We'll do it once for Facebook and once for YouTube.
Okay.
Sorry about that, but I'm just going to jump now to YouTube and welcome everyone. So I apologize for all this. I can't help it. I really prepared this for hours. I often do, and then suddenly everything goes wrong. 5 minutes before my system crashed, and it was absolute havoc. And I do not know why. Okay, but that's life. This is this is life in quarantine. I hope you're all doing very well. I can see many of you. I can see Amanda, Terry, Kelly, MacLady. I'm just going to go up to Susan North. Yeah, Mike is also there. That's good. That's Mike Hendley. I'm going to introduce him more. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Hal. Who else is there? I think I also saw Lady Hawk and so on. DJ and so on. Very, very nice to see you all. So anyway, I'm just going to see if I can put Mike here, not upside down. Wait a second, Mike. I'm just going to scale you properly. That's it, because things are... So I have the pleasure of introducing today to you an artist from Canada from the other side called Mike Hendley. Mike is an artist and also a podcaster. He's got his own website, and we actually met on Instagram just by chance. He contacted me and I was looking at his eagle art. It's absolutely amazing. So anyway, Mike, tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll jump right in.
Hi, Christian. I hope everything's going well. It's always a challenge with technology, right?
It is.
Thanks for arranging all this. I had reached out to you because I thought it would be kind of fun to do this kind of science meets art experience. I'd done stuff like this in the past, and it worked out really well. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity for me to draw while we have a conversation about ourselves and more specifically eagles. And I think this is great. I'm an artist. I do it in my spare time. So I do work. I do a full-time job that is not art. And so I've been doing that as a matter of software development in health research for a number of years, probably 20 years now, 25 years. And I've taken up art recently, quite late in life. And so that's what I talk about in my podcast, which is called Drawing Inspiration. And in that podcast, I talk to other artists with the hope of making myself better, but also those listening. And I'm just trying to look at kind of people who may have drawn when they were younger or even quite young and are coming back into it. And how do you get into that? And how do you do it in a way that's positive for your mind and is a positive experience? And I think there's ways to do that. And I'm hoping by sharing what I can do that others may take that opportunity to explore their creativity.
Well, Mike, that's absolutely marvelous. I mean, I was particularly intrigued when I went onto Instagram and I was looking at your sketches. I'm exactly the opposite. I can only press the camera button and do nothing else. So I have absolutely zero abilities. I'm still drawing like a 5-year-old. So what got you into it, and specifically drawing animals? It's quite amazing.
I think when my oldest daughter was, I'm going to say 1. I started, I was working, I was at home with her. My wife was working. I was kind of a work at home dad. And part of that was just keeping her entertained and playing with her. Mm-hmm. And I started drawing dinosaurs. And I started going into quite a bit of detail, and I realized I'm not so bad at drawing dinosaurs. So then I drew a chickadee for my wife as a Christmas gift. And it started with that. And I just, I've always enjoyed nature. We've got a lot. We've got a pond and animals around. And so for me, nature has been always kind of the motivation for me in what I draw on. And I don't really do humans.
Okay.
I really enjoy drawing animals. I've started playing with a little bit with anatomy, but my focus has always been animals. And a lot of the drawings I've done are based on reference photos I've taken. So we have mergansers, and there's 2 in the pond right now.
Okay.
And so a lot of the stuff is, based off of photos I've taken. And I think I love nature. I love the textures, and that's what I've been drawing a lot in graphite. I'll be doing digital today, but I do a lot of graphite work. And I do that because I enjoy, for example, the texture of a bear's fur versus the texture of a frog, for example. And I think it's just an interesting challenge.
Well, wonderful, Mike. So I think let's get right to it. So I think viewers are already going to guess what this drawing is going to be about, because there's something in the background looking at you with one big eye.
Exactly.
So I hope you like today's choice, right? So that's what you're going to draw. I just have to try and arrange these pictures a little bit better. Let's see if I can do that. I'm going to put the sketch there, and I'm going to put you in larger. Let's see. Oh, that's upside down. Sorry, that's your picture. Okay. So anyway, so that's what we're going to that's a royal we. What you are going to draw, okay, today, or you're going to sketch. I would never be able to do that. I can only photograph these. So tell us a bit about how you're going to go about this, Mike.
So I'm drawing this on my iPad Pro. It's 2018 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and I'm using Procreate. I'll be using a mix of brushes, so I'll talk about those as I use them. So normally when I draw digitally, I do an initial sketch. I do a quick sketch to kind of get the proportions and everything correct, and then I will start blocking in with some color, and then I will add some details on top of that. And these are all different layers, which is the advantage using something like Procreate. And then I will, like I said, I'll add the details, and then I'll go in with highlights. For example, highlights in the eyes, and maybe work a bit more on the beak and things like that. And so there'll be 3 or 4, 5 layers when I'm done. And then when I'm finished, I turn off the sketch layer. And so everything else sits on top of that. And so we should be able to get pretty close to this image in about an hour.
Well, it's quite amazing, because I mean I would have also thought artists are not so much techies, but you are both, right?
Yes.
Okay, well let's get going. Once you switch your camera view, I will then flip the image so it has the correct orientation, and then we can try.
Oops.
That's okay. Yeah, take your time. Everything's going wrong today. Okay, so there is your image. So I'm going to just see if I flip this. 1 second, that's not the correct flip. Yeah, just show me where up is. Just draw up on there. So I can flip. Up is there. Okay, then we got the correct. Then I think we have the correct orientation. Yes.
Yeah, I think you may want to zoom out.
I can do that. Hang on. I'll zoom out a bit.
A little bit.
Okay, sure. There. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's zoomed out a bit.
Cool. That's perfect.
Perfect. Okay, so here is the wonderful challenge. I don't know how many of you can actually sketch, but you're going to see this done live, which is quite amazing. So we're going to talk, Mike and I will talk a bit, and I will also be taking some of your comments and questions. So I can see quite a lot of you are there. I can see your live comments. It's such a pity it didn't work on Facebook for whatever reason. Maybe because it crashed shortly, but that's just the way it is. So anyway, we're definitely going to get going, and then Mike might have a separate session again with Facebook, which is quite okay.
So I'm just, I'll talk through some of this stuff, and then Christian,
Sure.
If you want to, you can interrupt, or not interrupt, but interject.
I will not interrupt.
It's fine.
Where to start is the first question. Where do you even start? Yeah, just explain a little bit. Janie was just saying, where do you even start? And how do you even go about this?
Yeah, so I think you have to be forgiving, whether you're drawing graphite or digital, that when you put the first kind of chicken scratches down on the paper, it's especially if you're doing graphite, you want to do it really lightly. On an iPad, it's a bit more forgiving. So right now I'm just trying to figure out where's the line of the eyes and relative to the beak. So we know relative to one another, they're perpendicular. I just want to get a sense of that. I'm trying to probably run the eyes, this line through the top of the eyes, because you'll notice in the image, the top of the pupils are about the top of that portion of the beak. So I'm just looking reference to one another, how things look. And I'm going to probably start just getting a sense of proportions here. So I'm going to maybe figure out the beak first. And once again, this is really rough. And it's just to give me a sense of, I think the beak's maybe going to come down like this.
Mike, how do you get the scale correct? That's something I would never be able to do freehand. I don't understand how you even assess that.
So it's a bit of a, like, I'm trying to figure out a landmark, right? So the beak is a nice big landmark. And once I try and get a sense for that, and I can always, zoom that actual layer in and out. I'm always looking here on the screen to make sure everyone can see it. And I'm just trying to get a sense of, and I do a lot of chicken scratches here, just to get a sense of how things are. But when I'm looking at, when you're asking about proportions, it's a bit of a guess. Like when I'm adding this top part of the yellow part of the beak here, and the nostrils are in the side down in here, I know that this goes over the top at some distance, and then it comes almost straight down perpendicular to this line. So I know I need to be roughly like that. This one turns a little bit. So I'm just trying to roughly, once again, get this in. For the eyes, I'm going to, the top of the pupil is going to be on this line. So I'm trying to get a sense of the distance between the edge of the eye and the beak. And so I'm thinking it's going to be somewhere around here. And, eyes are round, so you can always go, with a round eye and then just cut it back if you want, which I can do like that. And then I can, preserve that line and just cut it down because, he's got a fairly, I don't know if the eagles always look angry. Are they angry?
Oh no, they are just they're very observant. They're very awake. It's our perception, right? That's the perception, and I think that also led to a big misconception of actually, in the 40s and 50s, where people were actually hunting eagles, and it was completely legal, right? So it was they're absolutely not angry. They are just very, very assertive, I would say. Anyway, I'm going to just pass some questions on. Baffle91 says, do you just sketch from memory?
It depends on the animal. So I can draw like a chickadee from memory because I've drawn a lot of them. But for something like an eagle, I will usually use reference photos because I like to get it as accurate as possible. And unfortunately, I just don't know these animals very well. I've done quite a few graphite sketches recently, and I've done things like otters and bears. And these are animals I haven't drawn before. So I do want to make sure I get them accurate and the way the fur and everything looks. So in most cases, I will use reference photos for that. And I may use 2 or 3 and lay them out to get a sense of, I want to get the shapes and everything right. My next large piece, I think, is going to be a snow leopard. And so in that case, I do have a sense of where I want it to sit, but I have 4 or 5 images of snow leopards to get a sense of what the head looks like.
Wow, that's really excellent. I can already see the proportion. By the way, let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing here. So first of all, let's talk about this eagle image. I took this many years ago, actually. It was probably still one of my absolute favorite. So the resolution, why this image is so incredibly sharp, is it was taken from quite close up, right? So I think I don't recall exactly, but I think I was about 30 feet from the eagle, and it was taken with an 800 millimeter lens, so you get an insane resolution. That's also quite interesting, by the way, because an eagle doesn't usually look directly at you. So if you take distant eagles, you will notice that they are looking to the side. It seems as if they're looking to the side, but in reality they're looking at you. And that's because, well, first of all, their eyes are more or less the same as human eyes in size, but the proportion that the eyes fill in the head is quite large as compared to ours. So I think we have about 5 to 10% of the head is the eye, whilst with the eagle it's a lot more. So the whole brain and everything is geared towards eyesight. And so when you usually approach an eagle from very far, it's using what we call the deep vision. And the deep vision is because it has two possibilities to see. That's called two fovea, right? Two fovea. We only have one. That's where the light concentrates. So the light goes through the lens and the cornea and is then focused right onto the photoreceptors, right? And we'll talk about the photoreceptors in a moment. So it's using its deep vision. As you go closer, it goes from a monocular vision, its deep vision, to a binocular vision. So that's the way we look. So that's the sort of 5 degrees forward angle, whilst the other one is more the 45-degree angle where it can look from the side. So that's in order to get a picture of an eagle looking looking straight at you, you will have to be in its what you call the shallow vision. And that's what I did in that case. So it gave me a direct look, and I just rattled off my camera, and that gave this look, this quite incredible look, right? So that just explains a little bit of the background.
Yeah, I think it's a very intimidating image.
Okay.
So I adjusted the eyes there because I felt they were too small. So that's the advantage in using for the Procreate. You can easily just lasso a section and make it larger and smaller. Once again, I'm just trying to rough this in and making sure I get the dimensions here right. And I'm going to get everything in before I start bringing in the color.
Yes, Susan Osterholm is asking, how long have you been drawing?
So I'm going to say 10 years. With the iPad, obviously, it's only been since, I guess, 2018. But it's been about 10 years. I've done a lot of reading. I did take one workshop 2 years ago, and that was a graphite workshop. That was very helpful. But yeah, I mean, there's so much online now to learn. So I think, as I say, I've been doing it on and off for 10 years. See, and so I'll just come make a comment here. I'm doing the mouth, the corner of the mouth, and you can see in the image that the corner of mouth kind of ends just past the pupil. So I know that I've got to get to here. And once again, it's always using kind of these reference points to try and to get the sizing sorted out. But I think I'm going to have to go a little bit different here with the beak. But
Mike, do you find sketching on an iPad, as you do now, digital sketching, easier than using paper?
I think it's different. I think when I'm doing something really quick, and I use this at work as well. If I want to just kind of get an idea down, I will use the iPad because I do web development. So kind of getting a sense of what people are looking for, I'll do it on the iPad. I really like the experience of drawing with graphite. I feel with graphite, I can see the image in the paper and I'm just applying graphite to pull it out. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how kind of I perceive what I'm drawing. In digital, it's completely different.
Completely different, right?
Completely different, yeah. And you notice here that, like, I think I'm way too high with the eye, so I'm going to come in and adjust that. I'm going to just focus on getting this mouth and beak right.
And what about erasing? Isn't digital erasing a bit easier, or does
it is, but when I'm doing graphite, I will do it with a much lighter touch. So if I was drawing this in graphite, it would be probably hard to see a lot of the lines because I'm so light on them. But I also, you know, that being said, I draw with ink as well. And when I use ink, in some cases, I won't even use pencil. I'll just go directly to ink. And then you're forced to kind of recover from your own mistakes. And so that's always kind of fun to do. It kind of backs you into a corner a little bit.
And of course, the color range would probably be much more using digital, right? Or
yeah, that's the challenge with graphite in trying to get a good balance of the tones or the values, right? You're going from light to dark. When you're using just something like graphite, it's really hard sometimes to get that sorted out. And it's been really challenging on some. The recent graphite picture I did of an eagle, that was challenging. It's hard to get kind of all the little bits of the eagle and to get those values and everything sorted out. But obviously, when you're dealing with color, it's much easier to do that. And if people are trying this for the first time, you can take and you can drop an image right on top of this, and you could trace it if you wanted, or you could use it for reference colors. You don't need to think that you can just draw this from scratch, and that's the only way to do it.
Right. I'm just trying to find your website, by the way. So let me see if I can.
Yeah, even the Instagram page would be.
Yeah. 1 second. I'm just going to blend that in whilst you draw. Let me just find Mike, because it was, as I said, everything broke down here. So let me see, Mike. Okay, let me go to Mike Hendley's page on Instagram. You know what? I will expand it a little bit just to show people this, to show the viewers a little bit better. Let me see if I can do this for a second to find out which one it is. Is that the one? Okay, wait a second. No, that's not the one. Let me blend this one out. There we go. Yes, that's much better. Okay, so I will show some of your Instagram picture and blend this out too. Just have to find out which the right screen is, because I got too many screens open now. No, that's not the right screen. That is this screen. There we go. And blend out this one. There, now you can see it. Okay, so this here is Mike Hendley's Instagram page, and that's where I first saw him. And I will just show you some of his incredible drawings here. Well, it's of course a beautiful puffin here that you can see. So you can see with what meticulous detail he's drawing here. And that was done in graphite. And of course, this is absolutely stunning. That's also the, that is the image. Tell us a little bit about that whilst you're drawing, if you can. No, this is the eagle. Maybe you can't. You could. Yeah. That's okay. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. I bet. Uh-huh. Yeah, Sherry, Matt. Hi, Sherry. She's got an interesting question here. She says, with digital drawing, are you able to draw half the picture and then flip it? I'm always better doing one side or the other. That's a great question. Oh, they can't. Oh, sorry, they can't hear you. Oh my God. Oh, wait. That's my mistake. It's my mistake. Okay, sorry. I see what's going on. Okay. I see what the problem is. 1 second. Okay, now they'll hear you. 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry, that was my mistake. So what I did here was just by mistake, I didn't notice that that you can't hear Mike, and well, that's a pun, right? It's not because his mic's not working. It's because I'm a little bit flabbergasted here, to be honest. There's just too much of a challenge. I realized that if I blend his picture out, that you can't hear. So I really apologize for that. I'm just going to correct it and maybe not show his page now. Let's just keep it running live. So 1 second, Mike, let me just try and get the other pictures right back the way it was. Okay, This way you can see both, you can hear Mike definitely. So I will show the Instagram pages here on the side, and then you can listen to Mike. So again, I apologize. Let me get back to about 3 or 4 minutes back. So Cherie's question once again, that was, sorry you have to answer this going, with digital drawing, are you able to draw one side of the picture and a flip? I always am doing better drawing the one side than the other. So go ahead again.
Yeah, so I can, I do that sometimes if I'm doing something that's more involved as a matter of an image. I will flip it vertically, I guess horizontally around that axis quite often. There's a feature in Procreate where you can just do that quickly. And I will do that. I will also intentionally change the view of my subjects so that it works better for me. I did I did the red panda. That was a digital piece I did. And that red panda was actually facing the other way, but I felt more comfortable because I'm right-handed, that I wanted to start from the nose and kind of move backwards. And so in that case, I actually just turned the subject and made it point the other way.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so the next question, Buddy is asking, do you like white-tailed eagles? That's a good question.
Where I live, seeing bald eagles is actually a challenge.
Right.
We have to we really have to search for them. We were out in PEI last year, and we had bald eagles flying over where we stayed every 15, 30 minutes. And where we live right now, just because of our location and proximity to water, we don't see them very much. There are places very nearby where we can go see them. So we don't, I would love to see more of them, but we don't.
Yeah, so of course, I mean, the white-tailed eagle is something we don't see in North America, at least not that I'm aware of. But the white-tailed eagle is very common in Europe and in Asia and many other places. You may have seen it. It's slightly bigger than our bald eagle. So in Canada, for example, we only have, we have golden eagles and bald eagles, right? So the white-tailed eagle is, you may have never seen one, but if you're in Europe, you definitely will see one. And in Asia, we see one. When I was in Japan last year, I saw white-tailed eagles together with the Steller sea eagle. It was quite amazing. The Steller sea eagle is even more magnificent because it's even bigger than the white-tailed eagle. Quite interesting. Love the cockatiel there, saying, I'm just showing the cockatiel here,
okay,
so I can see them comments.
Yeah, that was, we had that as a pet for a period of time. So that's Tweety. Not a very original name, but that was.
Oh,
no,
that's absolutely magnificent. Okay, so let me just see what else you have. So that's his page. Let me just go to his home page. It's also beautiful. So I hope you can see this. So I'm just going to blend this in. So this is at mikehendley.com. By the way, I did put his link below in the in the YouTube video. You can see it. Artist, podcaster, and tech geek. That's a good description. So that is his website, and you can learn a bit about Mike here, and also, it's to come. Okay, see, this is fairly new. And then he's got his portfolio here. You see, he even draws dogs. It's quite beautiful. There you go. Lots and lots of amazing sketches. Oh, this one I like. Look at this. There you go. And you know what? Next time we'll take an eagle in flight, actually. I can't expand that for some reason. Let me just try and do that from here. One sec.
Yeah, you may be able to see that better on my Instagram.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We can see it okay.
Okay.
But, if just leave some comments in the chat, if you've got any questions. Also, if you are enjoying what Mike's doing, and this may be an encouragement or even a guidance for you how to draw this, and sketch things, just leave some comments. And if you would like to see more of this, I will definitely do more of this with Mike, because I think this is it's just very relaxing. It reminds me a bit about Bob Ross and just the way things develop. It's very different to a photograph where you have an instantaneous result and then you go maybe into Photoshop and process it. But this really starts in a serial fashion right from the beginning. It's quite amazing. It's really beautiful.
And when I'm done, I'll post a nice thing about Procreate is it stores a video of everything that we're doing. And so
Ah,
I can post that video when I'm done. I'll do that on my Instagram.
beautiful, beautiful.
So I had preset the layers here, and I started drawing on the wrong one. And I do that all the time where I have my sketch layer. And my sketch layer now, I'm going to probably reduce the opacity. You probably won't be able to see it very much. But I'm going to reduce the opacity such that I can apply the color on top and start working that. And
You see, that's interesting. That's interesting.
and then what I'm going to do is actually move that up. I'll put it up to the blocking layer so that I'm adding color on underneath the sketch itself. So I'm going to just change my brush. I'm mindful of the time here, so I'm going to try and we did a sample of this at 1:30 today. I just started sketching and drawing at that time. And so I'll just start adding some color here. It's so funny too in Procreate, and I always tell people this, I do a lot of graphite, but I'll come into Procreate and I'll spend an hour, 2 hours on graphite, in Procreate. And I will tap with 2 fingers, which is an undo. So I can do that and think, no, that's not right. And I just tap with 2 and it takes it away. Then I'll go back to graphite and I'll make a mistake with my pencil and I will tap my piece of paper and expecting the error to go away. And then I'm saddened that I did that. And then I'm also saddened that that now I have to erase it. So it's amazing how quickly we learn.
That's just wonderful.
So I'm just going to block in.
How do you get the color right? I mean, how do you know it's this color and not another one?
I'm just guessing at this point.
Okay.
The color is, I've created a little palette here I've called Bald Eagle. And so I've taken what I think are roughly the colors I'm going to need, and then I'll just adjust it as I go along.
I'm just going to ask here on YouTube, I'm reading the comments. Is there anybody here who also has artistic abilities and who would actually try and follow what Mike's doing, or even try it later just to copy this? Because as he said, he's going to have a ready video and you can also watch this in real time, how he's doing this. Is there anybody here who is also artistic and would be able to do this? Let's see what the answers are. And the same for Periscope. So if you've got any comments on Periscope, please put them in. I'll read your comments. If you have any questions, just go ahead and ask. This is rather relaxing. You can see definitely. You see the different colors here. Of course, you get the frontal reflection because the beak of an eagle is so incredibly smooth that you get this reflection from the light coming in straight back to the camera.
Yeah, it's I find it's when you see the detail of the beaks, they're just it almost like, especially down on this leading edge down here, it almost like it could tell the story of the battles they've had and the meals they've eaten, because it's almost like it's so worn. And I don't know, like, I assume that bald eagles fight with each other as a matter of dominance. Do they use their beaks, or is it largely their talons?
They hardly use their beaks.
Okay.
I've seen them sort of snatch at each other, but it's their real weapon are the talons, of course, and it's all about, what's amazing, coming back to the eyesight. That's what I was so amazed. What we saw on the Aleutian Islands, better than anywhere else. Studying their group behavior, which is quite interesting. But it's all your talons work best from the top. I'm just seeing a question here on Periscope. Thank you. Mama Moses is asking, which medium are you using? Is that colored pencil? So, well, this is digital, of course, but Mike, just go and say a little bit how you're doing this again.
So this is Procreate, which is an application on the iPad. So I'm using the Apple Pencil, and I'm using a number of layers here. So I have my sketch layer, and I have a blocking layer. I'm going to add another layer underneath the blocking area because I just want to add the color in the eyes now that I've thrown in the pupils there. And so I'm using Procreate. That's what I draw with on digital. If people are enjoying this, I can do a version or something in Graphite in the future. It takes a bit longer to draw with Graphite, but I think people enjoy that experience as well. I did a spider. So if you look in my Instagram feed, you'll see a spider, a jumping spider. I did that as a few live draws, and that was kind of fun to do as well. So I'm just going to...
so DJ says, I use color pencil and graphite. So DJ28. So there are some other artists here. That's great. Terry says, not artistic, but I would try. Yeah. I have so many of your photos. I can I can try my own hand on it. Yeah, do that, Terry. Of course. I know most of you very well from your comments, of course. So let's see, are there any other artists here? I don't see. They've become rather quiet here. They're just watching you. Graphite, thank you. Okay, so yes, Mama Moses, I hope that explains and answers your question. So it's quite amazing what you can do on the iPad. It's absolutely stunning precision.
So I'm just going to quickly add this because I think it may, the white here may help in seeing some of the work a little bit easier. So I'm just going to add the white. You can hear that my pencil's a bit scratchy. I've actually added a protective film on top called Paper-like, and it gives a bit more friction, so you're not necessarily drawing on glass directly, and it also keeps the fingerprints at bay.
Yeah, they're just asking for your Instagram account here on Periscope. 1 second. This can become an online class. Well, if you like this, you like what Mike's doing there, we can definitely do more. So I'm just jumping to his Instagram account here so you can see it. I'm just going to zoom in. So that's his Instagram account, Mike_Hendley. That's his Instagram account. So that just answers the question, I hope. And well, I hope you can follow this at the end and try and reproduce this, because this is all done in real time, which is quite amazing. Okay, let me jump back to the picture and expand this again. There we go.
So the other nice thing with Procreate is I can just put my finger down and hold it, and I can select any color on the eagle and say I want to switch back to this kind of orange up here. I can do that and then just block it in.
What do you think is the most difficult part of this image, and what is the easiest? Or is it all easy for you?
No, it's hard. I've got to choose the level of detail. I think when you look at the feathers on the head, it's how far do I go to show the individual parts of the feathers.
Of course.
The beak is really important because that helps to space everything out. So getting that beak just right, I think I've got it close, but I still may do some adjustments there. But with digital, I'm a little bit more loose in throwing things down because I know I can adjust it later. So once again, I'm just wanting to add a little bit here. At some point, I'm going to drop. See, I can turn off. Here's the sketch layer. So at some point, I'm going to drop that off, but I need it for now just to give me
I see what you're doing,
a bit of focus. Yeah. We'll see how far we get here for this session. Right now, I'm just using an airbrush. I'll stick with that. I'm going to get the...
Do you invent your own brushes digitally too, or?
I have. I've taken some and modified them for my needs, but I've also purchased some. The ones I'm using are all part of Procreate.
Oh, right.
So even if you were to get Procreate, you wouldn't have to buy any brushes to kind of achieve some degree of realism or work in what you're doing. I am thinking of doing some online courses in the future, but I haven't as of yet.
Let me look at some other... AC says, what a wonderful photo and instruction, thank you. Mecha Art is saying, I actually would follow a similar method as shown in the video. Sketch base followed by newer layer and then refined later with colors. So there's Mecha Art, is someone who knows what they're talking about.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, in my podcast, I often talk about this, where people just need to try and not feel that they need to get it right the first time. And there's so much that we can achieve that a lot of people say I can't draw, but I think you need to try. I think we can all do some sort of creativity, and some people can do better with pottery because that's the way their mind thinks versus drawing. But I think it's fun, especially with an iPad. There's so many iPads now that do support pencil that you can just pick one up and start working with it.
Right. I mean, this iPad, of course, that you're using, just to jump a little bit on the technology, that's probably the latest version, right? Or that can do this.
Well, the one I have is actually from 2018. There is a new one that's recently come out that has the additional camera and sensor on the back, but functionally it's very similar to this and speed-wise and that. So I wouldn't necessarily rush out. And I think you can't buy the old one now.
Okay.
You would be getting this new one, but I had no need to kind of upgrade, and I'm always the first one to think I need something new. But in this case, I just it's fine.
I can mirror that. Oh my goodness!
Well, it ends up with Procreate too, where you're drawing and you're thinking, I probably would be a better artist if I just got this additional brush pack, right? But at some point you've got to stop and just do your work. And it's just really, drawing is about time. I mean, as most things are, right? You need to put in your 10,000 hours, or as I had one guest say, you need to get yourself, you're gonna have, a number of really bad drawings in you. You need to get those out. And the only way you do that is by drawing. So
I'm just going to read out some more questions, some more just comments here. Baffle91 says, would love that medium tons of individuality. Mecha Art says, I always tell people, if you can write, you can draw. Wow, well, then you have to still convince me. I think I can write, but I can't draw. Amanda, hi Amanda. I'm artistic, loved drawing growing up, but stopped as a teen. Never was good at human faces either, and always drew best referencing a pic or object. I would like to know how to get back into it again. I would love to get back into it. Yes. Yeah, well, there's your chance.
I think if you were to, not that I'm doing self-promotion here, but if you were to check out my podcast, that's my point in that is to focus on what can we learn from artists that have been successful, and it could be artists. I've talked to people who've worked on Star Trek Discovery.
Right.
I've talked to Robert Bateman, who is turning 90 next month. He's a very popular, he's an incredible Canadian artist. And, it's a matter of sitting down and talking with these people and finding out what they do and how they do it. And it really is about time. It's you don't need a lot of tools. Like, I learned from Robert Bateman that he does a lot of his sketching, not with pencil, but he uses a ballpoint pen because he likes that opportunity not to worry about, erasing all the time. And the recent guest I had on had the same comment. And so it's learning these little bits that you start to forgive yourself in doing some of this work. And I think we can all do some fantastic stuff here.
Yeah, maybe that already answers Amanda's next question, or just point here. Would you recommend trying with real graphite and paper before trying things digitally? I'm interested how you got back into it, or she wants to get back into it. What would you recommend, actually?
I think drawing with a pencil and paper is great because you can do that anywhere. Take a sketchbook that you have, or buy. You don't have to have the best paper, and you don't have to have the best pencil. I would. When I draw that eagle that we saw earlier, that was drawn with two different pencils. So I used, as a matter of type of lead, I used 2H and 2B. 2H is a much harder lead, and 2B is much darker. And some artists, graphite artists, will use a range of 6 or 7 or 8 pencils.
Wow.
But I've tried to focus just on 2. And so I would just start with sketching. And the anatomy's hard. Some people, they can just figure it out. But I wouldn't judge your drawing ability based on a particular subject. So if you can't draw a hand or a face, don't do it. Maybe focused on an orange or your dog or a building, and start with there. You need to find those successes. And in many cases, it's finding the subject that you can understand more clearly. I had been drawing for a long time, and then I did an orange. And trying to do an orange It was much harder than I thought. And that's a real challenge because the tonal variety, that kind of dark to light, is really challenging in an
Yes.
orange. And so I would not necessarily recommend drawing a cut orange. You could draw an orange sitting on a desk and get the shadows in that, but trying to get the inside in and understanding the pith is lighter than the flesh, and that the rind is in between the two of them, and then there's shadows. So focus on something that you know well, in the sense that you understand what a dog looks like, or you understand a building or a rock, or a leaf. I had one artist on the podcast, and she said, just her tip, her homework was, go out and find a leaf, go out and look at something and take a few pictures, and then go back to your studio, your kitchen counter, your dining room table, and start with that. And so, drawing from memory is great, but using reference photos, and once again, graphite, pencil, and paper is great. It's expensive to start with the iPad route. That's for sure.
Okay, I'm going to try and switch us onto Facebook again. I think I may have found a way to do this now. So I'm just going to quickly have a look. What a disaster that was this morning. Absolute disaster. But let me just check. Yes, there you are. Yes, we're live now on Facebook. Absolutely wonderful. So I just wanted to introduce. Just going to wait a second. Sorry about that. I should have seen that other possibility. It's when I started relaxing whilst you were so incredibly therapeutically drawing there that I came back to my senses and found a way to get Facebook in another way. So anyway, I want to say hello to everyone on Facebook. Sorry about that. I just have to edit the settings here because it still gives the settings from the old stream. So 1 second, something is wrong here. It's not what it seems. It is actually the live stream that we're seeing here. So just ignore for the moment the old comments in there. They're not correct, but at least you can see you should be able to see the live stream now on Facebook. So the reason why it didn't connect, I don't know. It's just one of these things because my technology crashed, believe it or not, 5 or 4 minutes before we were supposed to go live, and everything just went wrong. But I think we're live now. So hi everyone. I'm just going to say hi everyone. Heather, Linda, Irene, very nice to see you all. And again, so my sincere apologies that you're coming in so late. So Mike, would you just be so kind and just give a quick update of what we've been doing, how you got here, and so on with this image?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm drawing on an iPad using the app Procreate, and I draw the way I normally do, where I have a number of layers. So I started with a sketch layer, and I'll turn it off here. You can see that that's off, and I'll turn it back on. And I use the sketch layer as a reference, and then I started with blocking some color, which I'm doing right now. And on top of that, I'm going to add details and then highlights, like things in the eyes and that later. And then when I'm done, I just turn off the sketch layer and then work from there. So I'm probably going to turn the sketch layer off soon, and then just start working on some of the details. And so we'll see how far we get with this. I'd hope to be further along, but I'm happy to be talking about all of this. And I thank you all for watching. I love this opportunity, and I thank Christian for setting this up.
Oh, I love it too. And anyway, so we can do more of this. So what you see here, just to recap for those of you, thank you, who've just joined on Facebook. Again, it was due to technical problems, but I think next time I know how to circumvent this. So what you're seeing here this is Mike Hendley. He is an artist from Canada, from the East Coast. If you look on the SassePhoto webpage, you'll see the proper link to his work, and I will edit it later once this live stream is over. So surely you will know this picture from SassePhoto is something that I've taken several years ago, where an eagle is looking directly into the camera fairly close, and that's why it's so sharp. And Mike started off completely in just gray, sort of gray pencil before. You can see he drew a sort of coordinate system there. You can see the cross there to get the distance right with the eyes and the proportion of the beak and so on. And then he went on. So even though you may have missed this, This is not going to, if this is something you enjoy and you really want to follow, because it's quite amazing watching Mark doing this on the iPad. We can do more, and next time, I can't promise I'll get it right, but I'll get it, because I can't predict when a system crashes, unfortunately. But I'll try my best that it won't happen again. Okay.
I think it's great that you're doing this, and we all understand that technology doesn't work, and it's beyond our control sometimes, right?
Yes, it is. And anyway, I will also just quickly, for those of you on Facebook, I'm going to just show you Mike's Instagram page, because it's quite amazing. So I'm just going to switch over here again and just zoom in so you can see it here on the side. So that's Mike. I hope you can read this. Mike Hendley, Mike_Hendley. That's his Instagram. So he's done quite a lot of posts, and he's done this, this beautiful pictures here of a puffin, of course, which I still would like to, like to see myself one day. There's a beautiful eagle drawing. Now, I don't remember with that. That was in graphite. I think you said it was in graphite. I don't remember. But but yes, okay. And you can see a lot of his wonderful work down here. Quite amazing. So then also he's got a web page. Let me just go to that one. So that is MikeHendley.com. Very simple, MikeHendley.com. And you can see a lot of these things. Here's a beautiful dog, portrait of a head that he's done, and many other things. And the wonderful thing is that he's doing all this live at the moment. So you can really see how this is done in real time. So I'll bring the image back so you can follow it again. Grüße aus Graz. I'm just saying hello to all of you on Facebook. Hi, Heike. Very nice to have you. Maria, Greg, Elaine, Irene, Linda, and so on. Put in your comments if you've got any questions. Please go ahead. Just put in your questions and just type them in, and I will pass them on to Mike. Anything you would like to know about drawing, if this is something you like, we can do more of this, of course, because many of you are at home now. So I think this is not only education, it's very therapeutic. It's very much like Bob Ross and all the things we enjoy. Okay, yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's drawing is very relaxing. I always ask the artists I have on about whether they draw too relaxed or when relaxed, and it's surprising to hear the answers. I find, for me, if I don't draw for a few days, I need to get back to it. And I think for some people that do it for a living, it's just their job. They get up in the morning and they go draw. And for me, it is therapeutic. I miss it when I don't do it. So I've turned my sketch layer off because I just want to start focusing on some of these details.
Excellent. Just getting my technology here right. Just go back to Facebook. Find the page.
I see a comment. Do I have graphite drawings for sale? I don't yet, but I'm going to. I'm going to be doing some prints of some of the work I've done, and I will make those available probably in the coming weeks. I'm still fairly new to this, so I call myself an artist because I think it helps to define who I am, but I'm by no means a professional artist. Some people mentioned Bob Ross. He was always known for saying that everything's these happy little accidents, and I remember growing up with him.
Yeah, I don't remember when he passed away. That was some years ago, right? So
yes, yeah. And I remember he had that little pet squirrel in his pocket there for the longest time, which I thought was just so cool.
Okay, so I'm going to bring some questions here from Facebook now. Joel is asking, what type of iPad is this done on? So sorry for that you have to repeat this, but these people,
It's okay.
of course, they haven't seen it. And the other one is, hi, what app is it? So
Yeah, so it's a the iPad it's a 2018 iPad Pro in 12.9 size. So it's very similar to the current version of the iPad that just got updated like last week or 2 weeks ago. And the app is called Procreate, and that's what I use to do drawing. I've used other apps. There's an app called Linnea, which is quite good as well, more advanced than Linnea, but I do love what works and what doesn't.
live now. So, okay. Oh. It should be back in. Oh, it's still struggling. I don't know what it is, Mike. It's get the stream back on now. Yeah, I think we're back on. Okay. I think we should be live again. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think we're live?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are.
Okay.
I'm just looking on Facebook. It says waiting for live video. So 1 second. I'm going to probably restart that again. Let me just do that. Yeah, wait a sec. Let's just do this quickly. It's got 10 people. 13, they're coming back. Yes, they're coming back. They're coming back on Facebook. Yes. Good. Wow, what a day. I cannot believe what's going on. I just don't understand this. Usually I don't have technical errors, but today is just the day.
It happens.
It might be the heat. Yes, my system's always actually working. But you know, I don't know what to say to this. I've done crazy difficult broadcasts, and this one shouldn't be difficult from a broadcasting point of view, but it seems to just be the day, right? So, but I think we are definitely back flowing on YouTube, and I just want to see if we are back on Facebook because I just can't. I'm not quite sure there. Let me just try and find out what's going on there. Yes, we are. We're back. It's okay.
Does the pen make very sharp images like you can get from a virtual pencil? Not sure I understand the question. Does the pen make very sharp images like you can get?
I think what. Okay, I understand the question actually, Mike. What it seems at the moment is maybe sometimes the screen is a little bit blurred. But that may also be the resolution that I'm running at. So they're trying to say, do you get the fine touch? Do you get the fine touch that you do as you usually do with a pencil where it's very sharp?
I think it's a different experience. It's definitely a different drawing experience. I find that if I'm drawing on, I benefit from drawing on both digital as well as on the iPad, and they're just different. And so I sorry, I'm noticing some stuff I got to fix.
Okay,
you can get a fine point, but you're treating it differently, right? You're drawing on glass, so it is a different experience altogether. I'm just noticing
that was DJ28's comment. I can just see it. A lot of people home online. Donna says everyone is using the internet. Not you. Not, yes, that's right. I don't know what's going on. I actually have a very fast connection, but maybe it's just one of these days. Okay, so I just don't know what to say. It's I can't reboot my router now because then you're going to wait a long time. So just have to do with what it is. It's getting incredibly close to the real image now. I'm absolutely amazed.
Yeah, it takes some time to get there, but it's I'm not rushing this too much.
No, 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 no. Yasim says, I was going to do that with the same picture. Very nice, man.
Thank you.
Well, there you go. You can practice with that picture. Samantha says, hello. And she thinks it's beautiful. Kathy says, yes. And then hello from Chennai all the way. It goes from southern India. That's Kalpana all the way from Chennai. So we got a lot of viewers here. And I think the live view probably was interrupted in Facebook, and then it came back again. Yeah, it came back. So we're live again.
That's awesome.
Zara, hi. Zara here, also from Instagram. You can see this is another East Coast Canadian. So Mike is from the East Coast, and yeah, he's doing this live, as you can see on an iPad. It's quite amazing. She says, "Well done, hello." That's great. Okay, here come some more questions on, I'm just looking at YouTube. Barno L. Watcher, can you sketch layer be a screenshot? I'm not quite sure what that means. Can you sketch layer be a screenshot? Can your sketch layer be a screenshot?
It's, I mean, it's possible. You can take, and I could turn off everything except the sketch layer.
And DJ is asking, DJ28, how many layers have you got down there, Mike? That's a good question.
So right now I'm using 3 layers. I have the sketch on one. Below that I've got blocking, and then I did the eyes separately on a separate layer. So on top of all that, though, I have the details and the highlights. So I haven't I'm turning off the sketch layer here.
Right.
But the highlights I'm going to use, I'll show you what I would do with the highlights, for example. So if I choose, because I want to get the reflection in your eyes, or in the eagle's eyes, I'm going to go, I think I'm going to choose a little bit of a blue here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go with an airbrush and just go small. Just make sure, again, I'm on the right layer.
I think you're making excellent progress. Here's some more questions here. I'm looking back at Facebook. Straighter edge, or just a comment, on those eyes to give the eagle firm stare. Beautiful sketching.
Thank you.
And now they can see how you can see your secrets here. They see, I know how it's done. So you've got 3 layers. That's quite amazing. So
so I'm just adding in, and I'll show you, Christian, do you want me to pull up that eye that I did, my own eye? And I can show.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that. Absolutely, I'll do that in the meantime. Absolutely. 1 second.
I can do that through here.
Oh, you can do that through here.
Yeah, I'll just.
Okay, hang on. Yeah, you do that through there, and then
okay.
Yeah.
So something like that, I'm adding the highlights for the eye. But if I go back, so I'm just going to open up. Sorry, people. Yeah. I'm going to.
Sure. 1 second. I'll just blend out this, then they can see this better.
There it is. So this is a drawing I did of my eye. And so when I talk about the highlights, I always save that for last, because when I did the eye, I saved the highlights here. And this, I have much more layers. I have 17 layers.
This is a drawing. It looks like a photograph. It's incredible.
But if you look at the highlights, you can see there's 2 windows here with some trees. And that's a piano. That's an upright piano. So that's the kind of detail, especially when you're doing eyes where there's some reflectivity, that you have that, because it not only defines kind of where that top layer is, but if you draw it the right way, it can help define that eye has a convex surface to it.
Yes.
Because you're wrapping the light around that outer surface.
My goodness.
So we'll go back to our eagle here.
Poof.
There we go. Okay, so there's an example. And so I'm going to leave that layer alone now. I'm just going to go back to the blocking layer. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to focus on this part of the eye and trying to get some of the the feathers right. And the nice thing is you can have multiple palettes. So I have a palette for the bald eagle. I did a heron, a red panda, a green heron. So you can create these palettes, which makes it really nice because then you can store them as you would working with oil or watercolor. So I'm just going to go back here.
But again, just for those who've joined on Facebook, what you said earlier, if you really start from nothing, it's probably easier just to use pen and paper, right? So pencil
Yes.
and paper, yes.
Yeah, but it is really hard to if you're working on an image where the transition between light and dark is very subtle, it can get frustrating with graphite. So if you're starting with graphite, make sure you get something that has clearly defined blacks and whites, and it makes it much easier. And even just for a sketch, if you're just doing an outline, you can choose whatever you'd like. But it's tough. I mean, many artists will tell you there aren't many hard lines in life. If you do a portrait of somebody, you're not going to use a hard line for the tip of their nose where it transitions from the nose to the background image or the background that they're being photographed or taken against. So it's that can get challenging. So I don't want people to get. So many people try drawing a person because we all have hands and feet, so it's easy to draw your own hand, but it really takes some skill, and sometimes it's easier to look at something else first.
What impresses me so much is the upper eye. It's you're getting this almost like a photograph. It's just incredible. You can sort of see the shininess of the eye. It's just amazing, and it's getting a structure actually, like you said.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to get there, but we'll get it there.
It's quite amazing. Oh yes, DJ28 saying, would I have to buy an iPad to use Procreate?
Yes.
Okay, that's an answer, yeah. Okay.
It's only available on the iPad. It's not available on any Android tablets.
And on Periscope here, let me just see, Angel is saying, feathers, wait a second, let me just see this 1 second. The comment is gone now. Feathers and hair were the tricky parts of animation for a long time also. That's a good comment for animation, yes. Yeah,
it's... I haven't worked in animation. I've spoken to animators. Yes, it's certainly very hard. And, things like fingers. People get frustrated with fingers and the joints and the nails and all that kind of stuff. But keep in mind that, Mickey Mouse wore gloves for the longest time for a reason. And so be forgiving on your, in how you're drawing. And don't worry too much about the details.
Well, it's very nice that one can actually see your hand all the time, right? That's what makes it special. Because we were talking earlier about it, we could also project your iPad directly, but then the picture would be appearing and we wouldn't know how you did it.
Yes, it would just, you wouldn't see, I'd have to say, I'm working over on the eye over here or whatever the case.
It would just magically change and we wouldn't know why.
Exactly. So I'm not going to be trying to be too detailed in this, so that's why I'm kind of drawing as I am now. I'm using actually a fine hairbrush because I'm just trying to drag out these feathers a bit. And
that's interesting. I use it, when I post-process eagles, very often, if you look at the original, the image would look quite fade, and there are some techniques that I use, sort of my own cookbook in Photoshop, in order to bring the feather structure out very much. In this picture, you can see that the top of the head is overexposed, so you can get some structure back, but around the eyes and around the beak, you get incredibly fine feather details when you expand the picture, really, and that's the details I like. So I use very special tools for getting that out, special plugins. That you don't usually get. So that's sort of also my own artistic touch, if you may, on when I present my images. They look a bit different to what many other people have because, I have my own, of course, my own touch of and way of pronouncing it because, in the end, even an image, if you take a picture of an eagle, it is your way of seeing things always. It's your way of cropping it and so on.
Yeah, it's hard, especially with us being, so many of us being in our houses at this point, that you don't really have to worry about getting out and looking far to find that kind of inspiration, that thing that you want to draw. You know, there's a lot around. There's images probably on your phone that you can use as references. I often go in my phone and look at old photos I've taken and see if I can turn those into. So I have an iPhone. I create a drawing album, and I just simply add those photos to the drawing album. And then when I want to draw something, I look in there and I pull something out.
Yeah, some more questions. Terry Green is saying, can you make a custom blended color?
Yes. So you can choose whatever color you want. So I can go in and and there's various types of colors. There's a new feature now called Harmony, where I can choose a color and it will show me the alternative color that provides harmony for that.
Really?
You can, and that just matter. I can use complementary colors, split complementary, analogous, triadic, and tetradic. But I haven't used that feature. Wow. So if you are trying to work on something, you can say, I really love this color blue, but I don't know what other colors work with it. You can do that through Procreate, which is fantastic, especially if you're trying to, even if you're just sketching out your kitchen, or you're trying to work on a certain, maybe let's say you're working in some other medium and you want to be able to figure out your colors, you can do that here. So I love Procreate for that.
And Cherie is asking, anime, I don't know what the anime is becoming really popular. Is anime easier to draw? Did I pronounce
so,
it?
Yeah, anime is something that it's. I haven't done a lot of anime. I enjoy it, but I haven't drawn much anime at all. I think that there is a style to, obviously, anime, realism, and so on and so forth. So I think there's probably some really good YouTube tutorials around that. But I think it all starts with drawing. It all starts with being able to look at something and translate that into your view of it. And whether that's a real object in front of you, or that's working on off of reference photo, being able to understand how you draw, and then from there going to anime or realism or whatever the case.
Okay, good. Barrel Watcher is asking, what is the name of what you put on the glass to give it some texture?
Oh, so that's called paper-like. There are different screen protectors. I've tried 3 or 4 of them. And I like paper-like because the problem with some of them is that if you put the screen protector on, when you go in and look at whites, you'll see this rainbow effect. And that bothers me because it's such a beautiful screen. And so the latest version of paper-like, which is available for, I think, all the iPads, doesn't do that. And it also, as I mentioned before, it reduces the fingerprints. So when you're tapping the screen and all that, there are far less. And obviously it protects the screen as well. So that's what I like. Your mileage may vary.
And Angel is saying on Periscope, I have trouble avoiding creating a pattern as I make my own marks. Nature varies in fractals.
Yes, I agree. And sometimes what I'll do is I will use the blend tool. So that's on the top of the screen. There's an opportunity to choose blend and then choose a type of brush texture and then drag the materials around a little bit. I find when people are asking about digital versus graphite, I find that's much easier for me in graphite than digital. But I will use that kind of blend tool to show that there is a difference. Like so let me just do that right now. I'm going to switch here to the blend tool. And I can go to hairs here. And now I'm not applying color, I'm just blending. And I'm just making sure you can see that. So I can take and blend a little bit because there are lines down the beak.
Yes.
So if I want to show those a little bit better, I can do it this way.
Okay.
And now I'm not applying color, I'm just blending down some of this. I'm trying to bring the yellow, the bright yellow, down the sides a little bit and down here. And I can adjust, right now it's at 100% opacity, so I can bring that down a little bit so it's not as severe. And that helps me to bring down some of that color. And then if I want to blend it even more, I can just change my blend brush to something like a soft airbrush, which is much softer, obviously. And I can just blend that out a little bit more if I want. because we are going to have to go a bit darker here on this side. So let me just see what I'm using. Use a soft airbrush. And for me, I don't blend too much. I tend to use the airbrush if I'm working on some larger areas, and I'll just bring the opacity down. And the opacity is really the pressure in some ways that you're applying to the image. And it allows you then to come in and just gently, there is a bit more shadow on this side. It's almost the sun's almost directly above this picture you took, Christian, but
yes, that's correct. That's correct. That's exactly what happened, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it's, the only way you're going to expose kind of that 3D nature of any image is to understand where the light's coming from and where the shadows are. So there's obviously more shadow down in this area because this part of the beak is a little bit more vertical relative to the ground.
Yes.
And so we're trying to just highlight this. I'm going to sharpen this edge up, but I'm going to try and highlight this a little bit here. And same with the tip of the beak. The reason it's so dark is because it's almost vertical relative to the sun or to the light that's there.
And Amanda is saying, beautiful, it's really coming together. That's an amazing program. How long did you take for it to use it, and use most of the features it has to offer?
So there's still features in this that I haven't used. There's an animation feature. I haven't done that yet. But I went into the Apple Store when we could, and I just started using it. And for me, it just, once I understood how to pick a pen or brush and start drawing, it doesn't take long for you to just want to spend all your time with it. And I love it because it kind of gets out of your way. Like if you just want to sit and draw, the brushes and everything around the outside, but you're not looking at them. And all you need is this little bit on the left, which allows me to change the opacity and the size of the brush, and then you're off to the races. So it doesn't take long to learn. I would say it takes long to master, but a lot of that relies on your skills and your determination in doing this.
And in that context, DJ28 is also saying, do you do your own printing for these, Mark?
I haven't done a lot of printing. I did one on glass. There's a company out of Florida that prints on glass. I didn't like the way it turned out because the challenge you have with this is you have to set a color profile.
Right.
And for these, it's sRGB. It now supports CMYK. All that to say, if your expectation of what the colors look like don't match what the printer's using as a color space, they're going to look different. And that's what happened with this company is they didn't print it in the same color space I was using. So it came out looking a little bit like plasticine, and I wasn't pleased with that. So if you are going to print out digital work, you do need to have that kind of interaction with a printer, either online or local, and get some test samples, understand what paper you're printing on. And so the answer is I have done some test prints. I haven't done prints, but I will be doing that in the future. And I do have a local printer that I can leverage for that.
Interesting.
So I'm just going to clean up this. I'd like to get the beak done. I think that would be fun.
Yes. Oh, and Jane is asking, do you have any tips for drawing with chalk?
With chalk? I haven't drawn with chalk except on my driveway. But it is something I want to try. So that's interesting. I would encourage you to try it out. I haven't done it yet. But that sounds like fun. I don't... I have to think about that. I don't know if I would... I think the challenge with chalk probably, right, is that you don't get to choose your background. So depending on what you're drawing on, whether it's a palette, or not a palette, a canvas, or if it is a blackboard or a driveway, it's determining, that's going to be your base, and do you have enough colors to accommodate it? And my daughter was drawing on the driveway yesterday, and I was thinking I should draw something.
It's funny. It's funny. This comment is quite relevant because I take out the dogs twice a day, and here comes one of them. just walking in. That's quite amazing. Just as I talk, but anyway, I've noticed that more people are drawing now because they're in quarantine. There's more chalk drawing going on. People just coming out and drawing something on the pavement with chalk. So I haven't seen so much before. So,
Yeah, it's. I am encouraged by all the creativity I'm seeing, and I think the other thing to be mindful of is that we don't want people to be thinking that you have this opportunity. If you want to look at it as an opportunity to be at home, that you have to come out of this with a new skill,
right.
and you don't want to put that pressure on yourself either.
Right. I'm just going to show you Juno quickly. 1 second. Show my dog here. Right. See something different here. Juno, come here.
So Juno is named after the city?
No. He's a rescue dog. But 1 second, I'm just trying to get because I don't.
Oh, there he is.
I don't want to lose you either. Yeah, he's down here. Down here he is. There. Just because otherwise we can't hear you. Hey, Juno. Okay, he's off again. Okay. No, he's a rescue dog. He's a one. Oh, wait a sec. I lost you now. There. I'm sorry. I'm just going to blend myself out again. There. There. Where are you now? That's correct. Wait, let me just get the picture back in. There we go. That's it. Yeah, Juno was quite something we had. I mean, I'm sure many of you have dogs and or cats or whatever. But I absolutely love dogs. So Jessie is a Jack Russell, and she comes all the way from South Africa. So when I was in South Africa, I wanted that dog. Just was always playing with the ball with me. So finally, I arranged to have her flown all the way to Canada. So that's Jessie, and she's coming here to me. And then Juno is a rescue dog, probably from Southern California or from Mexico, because there are quite a lot of rescue dogs there. So,
wow,
hello, Jessie. Hello. Come and show yourself too. Huh? Come here. Okay, let's put you on there too. 1 second. Let me just get Jessie on quickly. 1 second. Come here. Oh, you look funny. There she is. There she. Okay. There. Okay. Okay. You come back on, Mike. There. So that was a quick hello to Juno and to Jessie.
Nice.
Yeah, Zara says, hello, Jessie. Yeah, you loved it, huh? That's fine. Yeah, it's. I know you have animals too, because a lot of I follow on Instagram or so, and I often see that people really. It's very nice when people care for their animals. Mm-hmm.
So do eagles see as we do, or do they see differently?
Oh, they see really different. That's one thing that one knows for sure. And the word seeing is a difficult word because we always think that if we put in an eagle eye, we would see different. But of course, it's the whole head, the whole configuration, the way they're wired, right? It's engineering, nature's best engineering for millions of years, right? And of course, their perception, because they have two fovea, they can have the deep vision, they can have monocular view, they can see distant objects very sharp, they can also deform their eye to have somewhat of a zoom effect. Exactly how far that works, we don't know. But we can't control our eye at all. I mean, no matter how you try with your muscles in the eye, you can, all you can do is change your focus to your nose or so, but you can't change the shape of the eye really. So they have control over that. So their whole perception of vision, it must be completely different to ours. And even giving a number of saying they can see 5 to 7 times better than us is probably a crude underestimation, because they can see contrast so much better. And what you're doing now is, sharpness is contrast, right? That's really the definition. So their whole eye is very much geared into picking out meticulous details at incredible distances that we can't even see. The smallest shimmering on water, they'll detect things that we wouldn't, no matter how hard we try, we simply can't see that. So yes, absolutely. They can see also into the ultraviolet, which is very different to us. So again, their perception of color must be different. The same as dogs have a different color perception, owls and so on, a different color perception. So there's so many different aspects here. So I'd love to know how an eagle really sees things. All we can do is you can put a camera through an eagle eye, which to sort of emulate what they see, but you'll never even come close to, because it's in the end it's the brain that puts the picture together. The eye is only a small part of it. It's like the lens of a camera, but the whole head and everything is really how it all works, and how that's all put into an eagle's head with two fovea and so on. We don't have a clue how that really works. So that was a long answer.
That's okay. I think, when you're drawing something like this, you're always looking, obviously, at your subject and wondering, like, why is it that way? And how are they different than us? And what it's like, to be... do they have a good sense of smell?
No, they
Okay.
don't.
Okay.
But again, so there is a close relationship between vultures and eagles, and we always said vultures have a good sense of smell. And there are some vultures that don't have a good sense of smell, and it's quite interesting because some eagles or some vultures are being reclassified as eagles and so on, as they look more at the DNA structure. So the question is very good, but as far as we know, nothing special about their sense of smell, because they rely very heavily on the eyes, really.
Okay.
So.
So when they look at, and so when do bald eagles mate? Is it in the spring, or is it?
Well, they actually mate quite a lot, believe it or not. They mate quite a lot, but usually they have eggs. That's completely correct. It depends on where it is. They would lay eggs once a year. 2 to 3 eggs is perfectly normal, and it usually starts in Florida. This time Florida has been an exception, right? It's been very different, but usually they would lay eggs sometime in November in Florida, and then they would hatch in December. But there have been there's been a second clutch, for example, in Southwest Florida, which is quite interesting. So their chicks didn't survive, and then they were lucky. Both they laid 2 new eggs, and recently they hatched, which is exceptional. And in our area, it's exactly very high time right now. We've had some pips and of course some chicks, and typically here they would hatch around mid-April, right? So it's right around this time. So it depends very much which area you are, and that's all ready then for the salmon run, because by the time the juveniles fledge, they usually would follow their instincts and fly up north, because that's in June where the salmon runs start in Alaska, and they can then scavenge, and they don't have to do very much effort, which is very important for a juvenile who doesn't have the skills yet of controlling flight like a 5-year-old eagle has, and so on. Thank you, Deb is saying, great to watch, but the conversation's even greater. Thank you very much. Hope we're not jabbering too much here, but it seems to be okay. Angel saying, are hawk eyes similar to eagle eyes? Yes, they are. Angel, they are. Raptor eyes are very in their structure are similar with fovea and so on. That's at least what I know from literature. I'm by no means an expert. So that absolutely yes. They're very similar, because again, they rely very much on vision. And Patrice is saying some vultures being reclassified as eagles. Well, yes, that's correct. I have to read up about that, but that was one of the topics. It's very interesting how the classification works, and some things were just misclassified. And I also know from David Hancock, by the way, someone was asking how David Hancock is. He's very well, thank you very much. So David's doing well, but I don't see much of him due to, well, we don't have a lockdown here, but we use our common sense. So I haven't seen David for a bit of time now, but he's well. As long as the weather's well, he might even be going out and looking at the eagles. Harriet and M15 shout out, yes. So that answers some question. Let's just go back to YouTube and see there are many comments coming in here. What's going on? Very interesting presentation. Well, thank you. For the birds. That's right. For the birds 6. Those are interesting numbers. For the birds 6. Yes.
You know what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add another layer. And let's put in some black. I think that would be fun.
By the way, on Periscope, there are also some coming in. Hello, everyone on Periscope. So I'm just going to put the question out again. I'm just curious if there are any of you who would like to see next time that Mike draws an eagle sort of more in flight or landing or so, because we've got a number of those. Then please shout out, yes, I would like that, and also please give a like. That would be very kind of you, because that shows some appreciation. And then we'll have another session where he'll draw an eagle maybe landing or so. So it's a completely different perspective. If you're interested in that, just put in a comment now, and then we will arrange that. If there's enough interest, we'll definitely do it. Kathy says, have I heard eagles mate for life? Is this true? No, Kathy, it's... this is a very difficult question. These are things that we are learning through webcam. I know the popular notion is yes. Probably we heard the same with orcas, and we had an interesting discussion about orcas. But it's difficult to say, Kathy, because these are things we are observing. It depends again on the nest. I mean, eagles are just like human beings. They're very different. You have a nest like Northeast Florida. They've been there for a very long time, always the same pair. Then something happened to one of them, and they got, and then they got a new mate, of course. So it depends very much on the type of nest and the circumstances. It can be very different. There are even, as you know, there are trios, right? You can have 2 males and 1 female, or 2 females and 1 male. So it really varies with eagles. So nature is much more variable and much more complex than we often think. So there are no easy answers for that. But I'm quite sure what is quite amazing, what I can tell you, is that the timing is often insane. We have watched eagles lay eggs almost to the hour and the minute, and they sometimes come back even to the hour and minute exactly. So they have an incredible internal clock. But very often, when we do know also that when eagles are in migration, which they do, of course, that it could be that the female goes a very different route to the male. So their instincts, whatever the instinct is, tells them where to go, and then they would more or less meet again at the same time, so they don't necessarily migrate together either. It's fascinating, and we know very little about it. That's also why David Hancock is doing a lot with tracking eagles to understand their behavior much better, especially for those who are nesting, right? And especially for older eagles, not so much the juveniles, but understanding how their behavior really is. So we know very little about it.
So so I was asking about mating before. How do the mates? Is it the males that do a show that attracts the females? Are they relying? And that's why I was asking about scent versus sight. Are they relying on sight to understand which is the best male to pair with, or which is the best female? Like, is there a sense of how they end up connecting at that level?
Yeah, what we know, of course, is there are sort of pairing dances in the air. That's not mating; that's something different. But we call it courting, right? It's a type of courting, and I've watched that. It's absolutely fascinating. It's really fascinating when you sit at the White Rock Beach here and you watch this courting. It's incredible, and there is competition. There are you would usually, I mean, difficult for me to sometimes see from the ground whether how many males and females are there in the air. But there's definitely a type of courting going on, in the air, and sometimes they just lock their talents, just for fun. It's not even fighting. They just do kind of dances and so on. So they do. It's showing off like peacocks do. They do. Yes, quite fascinating.
Do they have any predators?
Yes, they do. You could, those that can climb up they're raccoons that can climb up. Definitely, man is of course the biggest predator again, but they are definitely on top of the food chain. But they are very sensitive to to nature, like everything is. So even sitting on the top of the food chain is very dangerous because they're relying on salmon, and as you know, the salmon runs are getting worse every year, and big changes, and nobody quite knows specifically where or why this is the case. Amanda's asking, Mike, is there a special stylus you're using? Amazing how sensitive the program is to touch.
So I am using the Apple Pencil that is built or designed just to work on the iPad. This is the one for the latest iPad Pro. So there's two pencils available depending on the version of iPad. There is one that has a little cap on the top that you pull off to charge it. This one does not. So this works by just tapping it. It connects magnetically to the top of the screen. That's the way it charges. I've used both. I like this one better. It does have a flat side, which is nice when you have it in the hand. It also causes it not to roll off the table, and it's also where it connects. The round pencil that has the cap works on the 10.5 iPad, I think, so not the Pro. So you can still draw on it. So from a drawing perspective, either pencil works great. The tip feels the same. I prefer the feel of this one in the hand, but this one won't work with the older iPad, and the older iPad pencil won't work with the new one. You can get third-party styluses, but I think if you're going to buy an iPad, you really need to get the Apple Pencil if you're going to draw with it. There is nothing comparable. And the nice thing about this, too, is it has a feature where, especially in Procreate, you can just tap twice, and it switches from pencil to eraser. Wow. And that's it's nice. It's taken me a time to get used to, because when I draw on Graphite, I'm often rotating my pencil. And so what I'm doing is I'm rotating this pencil, and as I do it, sometimes I hit the eraser and I'm erasing. So you just double tap the screen and it goes backwards and everything's fine. But I think if you get an iPad and you want to draw, the pencil is really the only solution.
And Maggie, hi Maggie, nice to see you here on Facebook. Maggie is from Florida too. So good afternoon, Christian. My favorite photo is when they launch off a surface, or maybe full flight wing spread. So we're talking about the next, the next picture that you can draw if you still have the energy. Not today, but another time, of course. And I see many yeses on YouTube too. So obviously, this is very much appreciated. So
that's awesome. I'm glad you're all here. I love doing this, and I'm trying to keep an eye on the questions as well, and I see all the positive comments, and I thank you all for being here on a Sunday.
It's amazing how many there are here. It's really nice to see.
That's good. I didn't want to show up on your channel and
no.
and have like 4 people here.
So, no.
That's good.
It's just a pity that we had some technical problems, but it's just the way it is, right?
It just means that when we got it sorted out, or when you got it sorted out, people had that contrast of there was nothing and now there's something. So it seems so much better now.
It is.
Yep.
It is.
So now I've got this, I think, close to where I want it to be, and so I'm just duplicating on the other side. I'm trying to be mindful that there's light coming down, and I will say that the image I'm seeing is not, and this is just cameras, it doesn't look as it does. So right. I think when we're done, I will post the video as well as a still of this in my Instagram.
That is superb.
So I'm going to show you something here too, which is kind of cool. So if I go to video and time-lapse replay, I can take and move my finger across, and you can see my replay here.
I see it absolutely.
And so I will export this, and it'll be, I think, somewhere around 13, 15 seconds long, but or 30 seconds, I should say. But you'll be able to see how I block things in. And that's always nice in Procreate to be
Oh,
able to
there
do
you go. Let's look at this quickly, especially for those on Facebook who didn't see the beginning. Whoops.
that.
There.
Oh. Do you want me to go back?
Oh, yeah. Amazing. 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 Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you can see I was playing with the eyes a lot. But then I was okay with it.
Yeah, Patrice is asking, Christian, could you talk more about vultures being reclassified as eagles? Patrice, I would love to do that. I would also need to prepare myself properly. It's a very good topic. And I would get in David Hancock, especially to talk about this, because he has quite an in-depth knowledge about them, because he would talk also about the origin of, from vultures, where they came from, and what we know way back in history, of course, in evolution, which is quite important to understand the old vultures and the new vultures and so on. So I definitely will take that subject up, and I think it's a great subject to talk about. Thanks for the inspiration, and we'll do that in a separate stream. I'll really bring in David to talk about that in detail. He just has an incredible knowledge.
Christian, do you have a sense of, I know that the eagle has prominence within our First Nations here in Canada. Do you know much about that and how it's respected or seen within as a symbol? Because I think, just because of its prominence out in BC relative to other places in Canada, it's probably quite woven into their culture, right?
Well, exactly. I don't know that much about it, but just from my observation when I'm in Harrison Mills, and I've seen it's the eagle, and also, of course, the raven plays a huge role too, right?
Yes.
So, I have forgotten exactly what the symbol is, so I'm not going to slip on here.
Well, that's okay.
Yes, because I don't know the exact symbolism of the eagle in their culture, so I will not expand on it. But again, I've seen the most beautiful carvings of eagles, and I even posted them. They're from the First Nations.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. I just curious, because I think it's just amazing to hear some of those stories. And,
it is.
And I think it really, you start to look at these birds much differently when you get a sense of that, right?
Well, one thing that I really learned when I visited, an artist from First Nations in Harrison Mills, is their incredible perception of nature. I mean, the way they see salmon, eagles, ravens, and so on is very much intertwined. We don't do that in a sense. We are so busy destroying our environment that we've lost that touch, and their perception, also the way they meditate, the way they sing, is it's a very deep connection with nature that we have completely lost, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I really admired. It's more that I saw, and that is also expressed in their art, of course.
Mm-hmm. I'm just adding some more. I don't know how much to talk through this, so.
Oh, just go on. Don't worry. I'm just looking at some comments. Sarah says that's so true about First Nation. Yeah, Zara, if you want to add anything, any comments on that, you're very welcome. The connection with nature and art is so heartwarming and strong. Absolutely, that's what I noticed. And I'm sure there's so much more to say about this.
I noticed Amanda had a question. Your iPad is 5 years old. Is it too old to try this program on? You can install Procreate on, I don't know what the basic requirement is, but 13.4 is the latest iOS version. If you can install Procreate, you can use it. You wouldn't be able to use it with an Apple Pencil, because that wouldn't work with a 5-year-old iPad. But if you look at the requirements for Procreate in the App Store, it will say whether it runs on your system or not. for sure.
Well, Amanda, I want to see some results now, next time. No pressure. Everyone's not listening. Oh, that's so funny. Amanda is wonderful. She's been here for many years and also, gosh, among others, has always given generous donations. And I hope I'll see, Amanda, you and your husband one day at the Eagle Festival, when we can actually travel again. So. Zara says, you have some people in society that are so heartless towards nature, and then there is First Nations with great knowledge and respect towards nature and animals. Yes, I completely agree, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yep. Zara, it's very interesting to see I don't know how it is with you on the East Coast, but what we are seeing here, I came to Canada in 2007, and I remember very well. That was got a house in White Rock, and I remember going out, there were no closed stores. They were just small stores, and within a very short time, gosh, Walmart developed there, Best Buy, and all of them. And then when you used to go to the ferry terminal, when you went over to from Tsawwassen over to Vancouver Island, right? There were no shopping centers there. Now you go there, it's a huge shopping center. It's incredible. So they deforested so much in that area. A lot of this was areas for wildlife that is gone now. David Hancock is very concerned about the impact that we are having only in our area. He's very much involved in trying to work together with developers, because you cannot stop developers. There's no way, but to get them to contribute to relocating eagle nests to different locations, and even that is becoming more and more difficult, right? So absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, it has been as bad as we have seen eagle nest trees being taken down at night purposely. And I mean, we believe it's the developer. There's no proof, but who else should it be, right? Because there's a lot of difficulty. Then you have to talk to the city about an eagle nest, and it's much easier just destroying the tree, right? Just to cut it straight down. So there have been protests about that. But the problem is you can't watch all these trees at the same time. But those are the things we're observing, which is disturbing, of course.
Do we have a sense of the population of eagles, bald eagles? Are they endangered? Are they how are they doing as a population overall?
Surprisingly well, Mark. Surprisingly well from what we know. That's the good news. Is I mean, David Hancock estimates their population to be 100,000 plus, the total population. So we see a lot, of course, coming through our area every year. That's around November till January, February. So what I've seen this year is, just telling from the eye, from what we see, they're doing well. What is amazing about bald eagles, the urbanization is incredible. So as long as there are trees left in urban areas, they will relocate, and they also are changing their habits completely. The distance that David Hancock used to observe between eagle nests used to be 1 to 2 miles. Now you can see a couple of 100 feet, one eagle nest to the next. So they are obviously adapting at a very fast rate. So that's very encouraging, of course. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't change our behavior. It's just encouraging to see that they're integrating very well. That's also one of David's big topics is the feeding of eagles, because many people say, well, and you have these pure naturalists who say we should never, even if an eagle drops a fish down, don't touch it. Everything should stay. Well, nature doesn't work like that, and unfortunately anymore. We are so, deeply ingrained in destroying nature, and we also have to change the way we think of eagles. For example, when we went to Japan last year, it was quite amazing to see that the Steller sea eagle that is very prominent of the east coast of Russia, where Kamchatka is and so on, due to oil drilling and so on, a lot of their nesting areas are being destroyed, and thereby they don't have the ability to survive anymore. So they fly and they migrate to northern Japan, and Japan does a great job. They are feeding them, so they really are giving them all the fish, all the remains, in order for them to survive, and that's becoming a very vital way for eagles to survive. You probably know also from a condor that David Hancock's talked about a lot about the survival of the condor. How that has been happening in spite of the lead poisoning and so on. So, I think if we find the right balance between feeding, we should, and that has to be done, of course, by people who understand it. There is definitely a way of living together. You can see that also in Dutch Harbor, where we've been in the Aleutian Islands. The eagles scavenge off the fishing boats, for decades now, and that's also where they migrate over winter. They come to Dutch Harbor because of the millions of tons of pollock that are being harvested there, and so you can see those are very positive adaptations of the eagle into in our environments.
I'm learning so much here.
I'm just jabbering away.
No, it's good. I'm coming in this as a student who wants to learn, and I appreciate all the information.
You're very welcome. We are here to learn, not vice versa. I'm watching you with absolute awe. Amazing. We've been online now for 2 hours, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Near 2 hours, 1:57.
Boy.
So if you get tired, that's fine, Mike. I mean, it's not fine, but it's what I'm trying to say. It's okay, It's
I think I can probably get this to a point where I'd be happy with it as a sketch in, I don't know, maybe another 15 minutes. If you're okay with that.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Okay.
Goodness me, I love this, and we still have quite a number of viewers here who are very, very persistent here watching. So that's wonderful. So yes, we are absolutely fine. Absolutely. So even on Facebook, we're already 56 minutes 45 seconds now, which is quite amazing. So that even in spite of tuning in an hour late, we are already broadcasting for 1 hour. Yes, Sarah says it's incredible to combine art and conversation together, isn't it? And it's also, Sarah, what I like is it's just really relaxing. It makes it fairly easy for me because Mike's working there in the background, and I have time to concentrate on all your questions and comments and read them out. And it's also fun to see the interaction of different channels, even all the way to Periscope. And Angel's saying you both have plenty to say. Yes, yes, we do. Plenty to say. Yeah, a lot of interesting topics.
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
Oh, it's incredible how, I mean, I'm looking now. I haven't looked at the image for a few minutes. It's becoming so real now. It's just incredible, absolutely incredible.
We're getting closer.
Closer, yes. I think the closest I would have ever got to your sketch is the first minute where you drew a coordinate cross. That would have been the closest I would have ever come to my ego.
So how long is it before when they fledge and actually leave the nest? How long is that?
Oh, the fledging takes 70-something days. I've forgotten the exact.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. So what's amazing is really their growth, because their growth is non-linear. So it means in the beginning they don't grow so much, and then their weight just increases at an insane rate. Finally, they're bigger than their parents. Their wingspan of juveniles are bigger than the parents, because the parents, after a while, the feathers get smaller. They become much more refined for fine control of flight, whilst juveniles have very wide feathers just to soar all the way to Alaska and wherever the salmon runs are, because they're mainly scavengers. So they adapt with the years. And to watch them fledge is absolutely wonderful. Now we have all the eagle cams, as you know, all the way from White Rock all the way to Florida. Eagle cams everywhere, and it's wonderful to watch how they fledge. And it's very difficult. I mean, I've been right underneath a nest watching how juveniles fledge, and you think, oh my goodness, it's like jumping off a high cliff in the beginning, because there's not, it's not just like a small step, a bigger one. When they finally go, of course they do a lot of flapping first, but when they finally take off, it's quite amazing, because that's only then where they learn how to start using their primary feathers to steer better and so on. So it's very exciting. My heart really beats very much when I watch them for the first time.
Well, I know even we've got mergansers that nest in our pond, and they live in a nest box like wood ducks do, about 6-8 feet. I built the boxes around our pond, and they will go in, lay their eggs, and then when the ducklings hatch, they jump out of that box the next day, and they just launch themselves out of the hole, and we will see them for that day as they kind of run around the pond, and then they'll disappear. We will not see them again. So it's
right.
It's unique and wonderful to see, but if you miss it, they're gone. And it's the same they do every year. And it's just amazing that a little duckling who's less than a day old launches itself out of a hole and may fall 6, 8, 10 feet to the water or to the ground, depending on the box, and they're absolutely fine. And the mother's sitting there below calling them, wanting them to get out, and they all do. Nature's good that way. It's what I find interesting with the COVID-19 is that there is so much talk of these areas, and it's probably overblown a little bit, but about animals coming back, right? That there's jellyfish in the canals in Venice, that there's some areas where wild boars are coming into the city. If we were more kind to nature, it would envelop us more than we would think, and it's nice to hear that. It's nice to hear that nature is coming back in regions maybe where it should. I don't think it solves anything, but it's just people talking about animals coming back into the city because there's less traffic and less people and everybody's in home, right? So
right. Yeah, that's been just that you talked about COVID-19. I was talking to a microbiologist yesterday, and it was very interesting. She told me, I just wanted to know, it's a good opportunity quickly to ask a question here, both on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, because she has a lot of interesting knowledge about viruses and also how they propagate. So if you would find this interesting, I can actually organize a special talk looking at aspects probably that you are completely unaware of COVID, the coronavirus, and much more from a biological point of view. I can arrange that if you're interested. But one thing she mentioned I thought was quite stunning. She said the biggest misconception about COVID-19 is that people are believing, or quite a few people are believing, that it's airborne. And fortunately, this is complete nonsense. It's not airborne because the virus as such is too heavy to be airborne. It's too heavy. It's simply weight. So the way they propagate in air is through droplets, right? It's the droplets, it's humidity that we have in our mouths when we breathe out and so on. That's the propagation, and it's a sign of droplets or droplet distribution, right? The heavy droplets will fall right in front of you, but the very fine droplets will then come onto another surface that can be your hair or whatever it may be. It could be your jacket and so on. And that is the dangerous part. And that's also why, the 6 foot distance is only a very approximate measure. In fact, they can propagate much further, because if these fine droplets, for example, if there's wind or so, they can propagate much further, and then they can stick to surfaces thereby. And because they're so incredibly, virus is so incredibly contagious. Anyway, that's my little wisdom on COVID-19. So if you're interested to really hear someone who knows things about it, leave a comment and I will definitely arrange that. Because I think it's going to, unfortunately, COVID-19 is going to be with us for quite some time, whether we like it or not. Okay, one question here from Terry quickly. I noticed you start a feature, then jump to another feature, then come back to it. What advantages does that give? Okay.
I think for me, I'm drawing one area and I don't always watch what I'm doing. I may be down here and I'm just pulling out some feathers, and while I'm doing that, I may be looking up and realize, the eye's really bothering me. And so I'll just go up and work on that. So for me, I just grant myself that opportunity to move around an image. And there's times when I like to draw an eye, and there's times when I'd rather draw the beak. And so I'm just kind of leaving that open to myself as to, what should I be working on now? I've got a fine hairbrush right now, so maybe I'll use that for a little bit. But I'm always looking at the image. And the important thing with any art, especially drawing or digital drawing, is you need to focus on kind of the small details and the large details. So you're always kind of adjusting your height, your view. If you consider it like the 5,000 foot or 100 foot view and the 30,000 foot view is moving back and forth, because you may spend all this time on the eye and getting the eye just right, and then you realize later the eye is half an eye too high. So it's being mindful of all of this as you're working on it. And that's why I jump around. It's just because I see something and I just want to go in and fix it. Kind of a long-winded answer, but
no, that's right. And Nancy, very similar. Nancy is asking here, I would love to know what he is doing when he presses on the screen and enlarges a small area. It magnifies for what purpose?
So for me, it's detail. So if I want to, let's say I'm working on this part of the beak, I just want to make sure that I don't hit the beak because I'm drawing the feathers underneath it, is that I'm not touching it. So that's why I'm zooming in, is more because I'm 53 and my eyes aren't as great as they used to be. So that's why I'm zooming in as I am.
And Proud Cat Mama of 3 is saying, I'm always in awe of people who have talent as Mike. Absolutely beautiful. But that's great.
Thank you.
That's absolutely true. And obviously there's some interested here too love to hear more about the virus. So that'll be a completely different topic, but I can arrange that. I can get an expert to talk about this. So that we can definitely do.
I think we're going to be close here, Christian. I don't want to occupy everyone's time too much, but I'll get to a point here. I think
that's fine. It's completely your call. You're not occupying. People they wouldn't be here. They are really enjoying this. Okay, so it's completely up to you. I'm fine here. I'm just watching like everybody else is.
I'm trying to make your this version, just trying to fill the screen differently. So I'm taking some liberties here with what other parts of the eagle look like. So we'll just put in some darker.
Zara is asking, Mike, would you consider painting it with acrylic paint? That's a good question. Should look amazing. What do you say to that?
I've never used acrylics. So I've always used graphite, or I've done watercolor, but I actually haven't used acrylics. So I've seen amazing stuff by people with acrylics, but I've not painted beyond trying some watercolor. And so I agree that would be kind of a fun experience. I just, I would have to spend some time trying it out, and I haven't done that.
Incredible. And Nancy said, I tuned in late. What does the tablet look like, and what you're drawing on? So if you don't mind explaining it again.
So it's an iPad Pro. It's 12.9 inch screen. This is the 2018 version. The 2020 version, which came out last week, is the same size. And so I'm using Procreate, the latest version of Procreate, and I'm using an Apple Pencil as my stylus. So now,
Lady Hawk, hi, nice to see you, Lady Hawk. Very nice. Mike, your work is so stunning. I'm so enjoying watching you create this masterpiece. I completely agree. I mean, we're sitting here all stunned. We're all quarantined and we're enjoying this. I mean, this is the wonderful thing. We're not really socially distanced. I'm actually so glad I built up my studio, as if I almost had a sense that one day it would become very necessary, because this way we could all be together and yet not be too close, and yet we are very close. So it's absolutely great.
I agree.
DJ 28 saying, I have to laugh because I have no glasses for drawing right now and no way to get them with everything closed. My eyes are in the same situation. Mark. Mike, sorry, that's funny. That's Oh, and Mac Lady saying, missed how you added the shine and also what software you're using. So, yeah.
Yeah, so the shine on the eye it's a separate layer. It's a highlight layer, so I'm going to turn it off. You can see it go away. And so all I did is I put that layer on top of the eye so that I can do work in the eye and not have to worry about the highlight. I had that in earlier than I would normally, just to be able to highlight it to people and show that kind of difference. So I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to
from Singapore all the way. I have to tell you quickly something about Singapore. I unfortunately cannot read Chinese, but I know that you're from Singapore. But it was incredible. In 2017, I was invited to Singapore, and I had a wonderful time. So I had an exhibition there. It was about astrophotography, actually, in a science museum. And then, of course, I went to the beautiful bird park that you have in Singapore. I even gave a live broadcast there, and they had a raptor show. It was incredible. I think they even had, if I remember, they even had a condor there, and it was remarkable. That beautiful, that beautiful park in Singapore. I don't know how the lockdown is in Singapore now, but it must also be quite difficult.
So I think what I would ask people is if I did this again, and I will do it again.
Yes.
Do people like the digital, or would you like to see me do it in pencil?
Okay, so that's the question. Do you want to see him do it digitally or in pencil? Because both is possible. So please, I don't even know yet how to do a vote. I know all that is possible with special tools. I don't have them. But just put some comments if you would like digital, or if you would like it in pencil. That would maybe be well, from my point of view, I would love to see that because it's very different. Having said that, let me just see. I saw some other question. Sherry asks, do you ever complete a drawing and think it's perfect, or do you always see something that could be fixed?
I always see something that could be fixed.
I bet.
There's parts of this that I'm looking at right now, and I'm thinking, I hope no one calls that out, because that part really bothers me right now. But at some point, you need to walk away from it and say that's enough. And that's where I think doing this on a regular basis and just exploring your creativity, you can easily walk away from things and just say, that's what I did. That's as far as I got. And so a lot of the work that I've been doing with Graphite recently is stuff like that bald eagle that Christian showed earlier. It's short. And even there's parts of this that I would do differently, but I want to try and finish this off for the purpose of this, and then and share it with you. And so I think that it's okay that there's parts of this that I would do differently, but that's how you learn. And you can't learn everything at once. Mm-hmm. So be mindful and be easy on yourself in looking at, I would probably change the eye differently. I would change the beak. I would do this part differently. You can't learn it all, and just getting it down. And if you choose not to share it, it's okay. But for sure, there are drawings. I tried doing a picture of my eye. I don't know if let me try showing this right quickly here.
Yes, of course.
I tried doing a graphite picture of my eye, and I hated it, so I didn't finish it.
Oh, well, that's a good answer. Hang on, I'm just going to blend this eagle out. So there you go.
So maybe there.
Oh my goodness! If I did this, I would be very happy.
And I was disappointed with it because the eye's too big, and so I stopped working on it.
Right.
So, and there's a bunch of other stuff that I've worked on, and this is just my graphite book. But some of it, like this, was really quick. If you look at the detail, it looks detailed, but if you zoom in, it's not. And so once again, it's just me playing around. And yeah, I'll walk away from stuff all the time. What did I do the digital eagle with? So that was done in pencil.
Wow.
There we go.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Okay, so I think
I just see the reply from Singapore. Okay, all non-essential businesses are shut. Schools are shut down. Everyone is encouraged to stay home. Perks about it if we get to enjoy more photos and social media. Exactly. That's good. So that's from Singapore. I can't imagine that. My goodness. Wow.
Yeah, we're almost good here, Christian.
Almost there. Almost. Yes. So let's just see both. Sherry says both. Yes, I would enjoy either. Yes, pencil or charcoal. Terry says pencil would be nice. Now that I've seen digital, pencil would be awesome, says DJ28. Mac Haynes says, would love to see pencil. So there's very clear going to pencil.
Okay.
Amanda says, thanks, Mice, for answering my question. So gorgeous. Well, either way would be fine for me. Dana says, both, please. Janie says, pencil would be amazing too. Chaplin says, I'm interested in pencils. Very fascinating to see with digital, though. Proud cat mama of 3. I always said called proud cat mama of 3 million cats. Drawings both ways would be great. That's fine. Mac Lady says, what did you do with the Juvie Eagle with... the Juvie Eagle. Was it a digital or pencil?
It was pencil.
Pencil. Good. Okay. Okay, good. Thanks so much, says DJ28, and thank to Mike and to myself. Thank you very much. And Amanda says, any, especially for beginners and someone with limited or no experience, to use a digital drawing program, pen, pencil, or graphite would be great too, but looking forward to trying it digitally too. So, wow, very excited. That was
That's
a lot.
Good. That's good.
And let's jump to Facebook. Patrice says, either way is fine with me. Enjoy watching, learning, and hearing from Christian as well. Very calming a way to spend more time, isn't it? And it's very nice to not watch COVID-19 things all the time. Nancy writes, it would be interesting to see the same drawings in pencil next to the digital one. Oh, that's a challenge.
Yes.
Well, you have a left and a right hand, don't you?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, I probably wouldn't, because I started a version of this, and it was quite different than the way this turned out when we were testing the system earlier. But yeah, I would. I want to do one that's in full flight. You had one that's coming down for a landing,
yes.
And I think that would be a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, that's. Let me just see if I can find that one.
It's kind of got its back is kind of hunched a little bit.
Okay, hang on. Let me just. With my million pictures here, let me see which one it is. Okay, I'm just going to show a few pictures. I'm not sure which one it is, but let's try. I'm just going to blend that one in. Is it this one maybe? I don't know.
No, I've got it's kind of coming from the right and going to the left.
Coming from the right.
And it's got its okay, it's almost its shoulders are.
Okay, hang on. Gosh, I have to look at my thousands. I then archive them again, so I have to try and see. Oh my goodness, from right.
I think I can show you.
Oh, okay. Obviously, I have problems to find it right now. So
it's fairly recent.
So right. Okay.
Oh, where is it?
Good. Okay, let me just blend mine out so you can see this better. 1 sec.
And it's I love seeing the whole bird. In view.
Oh, I see. Sure.
And
okay.
I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is. This one.
Okay, okay,
It's
that
just
one.
coming down. I think it's coming
Yes.
down, right?
Yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely coming down. Okay, okay, I know which one that is. Yes. If I sometimes people ask me for images, and I have, goodness me, I have to look in my folders, and gee, I never know. They say an eagle landing or so. I say which what? A
Right.
thousand what? You know? Yes, I'll try and find it. Let me see. Um, put in my archive somewhere.
Okay. I think I'm going to leave it like that.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Let's expand it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to
Uh-huh.
do what I normally do. Is just I'm going to add my signature here, and then we'll consider it done.
Well, isn't that amazing? Isn't it amazing? Well, that's incredible. Ah, Zara says the first one Christian showed too was beautiful too. Thank you very much. Absolute beautiful wingspan, isn't that? Well, that's why I love photography so much. You simply can't see that. Oh, beautiful! Look at that signature now. Oh, wow! It's absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. What a wonderful result.
There we go.
I'm just going to show that right to next. So give me a second. I'm just going to blend in if I can find it now because I blend in the here this one again. Let me just blend this in if I can, just as a comparison. There we go. So, isn't that remarkable? Absolutely remarkable. There you go.
Yeah, when you show it that way, I'm thinking there's a lot of stuff I would change.
Well, but no,
back to the question earlier.
no, but I mean, this is art, right? I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. It really is. It's absolutely stunning. I don't know what everybody thinks, but I'm quite sure. A brilliant work, says Patrice. Well done, Mike, says Zara. Kathy says thank you. Let me just see what's on. I'll just jump over to YouTube. Absolutely gorgeous, says Baffle91. DJ28, amazing, Mike. So everybody's happy with it, right? Talented here on, says Luke Tremblay, says on Periscope. So everybody's really happy with your work. Buddy says nice. Terry Green says I love it. Sherry Matt says it's stunning. So
Thank you.
Jan says this was a spectacular experience. Amanda says fantastic, looking forward to seeing more. Chapin says stunning, great class, Mike. Lady Hawk says it's amazing. Mike, you're so talented. I can only echo all that. Donna M, thank you, so beautiful. Sherry, I cannot believe you did this live. Absolutely phenomenal, Mike says. Proud cat mama of two. So everybody's very happy. Going back now. Steve back on Facebook. Thanks to both. Very soothing. That's great. Nancy says the eyes are amazing. Sarah says, but a work of an artist is beautiful just the way it is. I completely agree with that. That's exactly what is right. Absolutely. Cherie, incredibly talented. Dana, awesome. Cameron the Dragon says absolutely amazing. So, Mike,
That's awesome.
that's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Yeah, well, maybe let's just quickly show yourself. If you don't mind.
Sure.
That would be great, Mike. If you could just show yourself and then
I'll
as a
switch to the...
final before that. Who knows? Some technical error happens again. I will try and up there. I'll just get you on. Get you correct on back to earth now. There you are, and I will try and blend myself here in on the side.
There you are. You're over here. This side.
Yeah, right.
I can't figure out my right and left here.
Oh yeah.
That's okay.
That's always a problem.
I'll put you on my shoulder this way.
Wait a second. I'll just expand I'll put myself on the other side. Wait a second. There. How's that? Oh, now you go to that side. You go to the other. No, the other side.
This side. Oh, wait. Sorry, it's mirrored here. There we go.
Everything's mirrored. It's really difficult, And if I invert it, it's even more difficult because you get even more confused. Okay. So anyway, thank you, everyone. How wonderful it was, despite all the technical problems that we had. Thank you so much for being here, and special thanks to Mike Hendley. So from was Toronto, right? It's Toronto.
Ottawa.
Ottawa, sorry, it was Ottawa, so Eastern Canada. Very nice. And thank you for everyone spending the Sunday here. We'll definitely be back very soon because this is so much fun. Actually, it's so much fun to see that. And next time it's going to be the other one that Mike showed of I'll have to find that picture of, the eagle landing and so on. We'll go on from there.
That's awesome. Thank you, Christian.
Great.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So I'll just quickly say goodbye to everyone on YouTube.
And
first.
can I just...
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
I'll just mention one thing. I've exported it, so as soon as we're done, I'm going to post it on my Instagram. So you'll see the image, and then you can swipe and see the video. I'll do that as soon as we end the call. So for anyone following, you can see the actual image that way.
Absolutely, very nice. So he's going to that'll be on Instagram, right? Or
yes. And I'll post it on my website, but I always put my art on Instagram first.
Okay, excellent. So it's going to be both there, and I'll see if I can give you a link to that. Thanks. So everybody, first, thanks also. Hi. Hal is also there saying thank you, Dana, DJ, Terry, Amanda, and everybody else, Mag Haynes. And it was wonderful to have all of you. Thank you for being such loyal viewers, and I really appreciate that. And it couldn't make our Sunday better. So I'll first say goodbye to everyone on YouTube, and then let's